Yo, it's X, and this is What's Out Media Group. Today we have Petrina Delacey. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
And she's an artist out of California. Is that correct?
Yes, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, California. And she has a new album. It came out fairly recently. I was in a bad mood. No, I'm not. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about, I'm going to call this series the God Bless the Work uh, podcast, only because when I was in college, I used to do horrible workouts. Not horrible, but like really like treacherous like workouts. It's like, how am I going to get through this? So I brought my faith into it. I said, God bless the work. Whenever I said that, it helped me get through that workout. It turned into my team's motto, and it helped me get through, work. And I mean, being an artist yourself, that's a lot of work. So you're the first guest of the God Bless the Work podcast. So welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your upbringing. You come from a bunch of different cultures in LA. I'm not really that, educated in LA and the culture of, race and all that. So let's start it off like that.
Okay. So, I come from a multiracial family. Dad is half black, half white, Italian immigrant. So that's like another factor. And my mom is Mexican. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was a lot for me to figure out my identity, as a kid, especially because I'm very white passing racially. Some might think I'm Latina, others might think I'm white, depending. It's very subjective.
Right.
So figuring out what it meant to, kind of understand just the lived experience of my grandma, who's a black woman, my dad is a half black man, and but also understanding my place that I'm still not, I can't necessarily identify as that. So yeah, just figuring out how to be an ally. And the Mexican side was, I'd say I resonate most with that because that's the closest family I was with. We'd see each other every Sunday, making them tamales,
Yeah.
just always getting together and stuff. So yeah, family is very important to me. And recently my mom actually brought up that she reminded me the reason I think I sing in the first place is because of my grandma, her mom. And she used to always drag me to karaoke bars, and she loved like nightlife with like the old nightlife, like old
Yeah.
people life. So yeah, I'd be at the bars and stuff, but like for old people or something like that. And yeah, I was always singing karaoke, and I realized recently, like, dang, like she's the reason why I even do this. So that is also like a huge inspiration for me to just keep going and keep pushing and do it for her because she loves singing.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like they don't know where they find their passion from, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I was doing this when I was little. I was talking to my grandma nonstop. I was talking her ear off, and we would just go in it and we would engage in dialogue and stuff. And like that's what I want to do now. So I mean, and it's so much easier when you started off when you were younger, and then it just becomes natural. So that's really cool that you just fit like I guess brought that together, just figured that out. At any time, did your family come together? Did all parts of the family? Because I have a grandfather. He was, I guess you would call it second or probably third generation Italian. His grandparents came from Italy, and so I mean, our family sometimes would merge. Would be an Italian family coming with a black family. At any time, did that come in? And how was that? I mean, it might have been when you were younger, right? But do you
Yeah.
remember that dynamic at all?
So, well, all of my Italian family is actually in Italy still, or in France. I have family in Europe. Um, so if they did come out for a wedding or something, that was always great to see. But in terms of, I think I was closer to the Black and Mexican family since they're in America.
Yeah.
And yeah, they all got along really well. There was none of that like weird, like, oh, he's black or she's Mexican or whatever. There was never none of that. Always very cordial, very very loving, and very all from the same either Christian or Catholic background. So nothing was ever crazy. Like chicken being thrown across the table or something like that. It was always very like peaceful and stuff.
Yeah. And I think we may have a different outlook when it comes to race in America, just because we're kind of used to it, right? And multicultural, you know what I'm saying, like backgrounds, understanding that like, hey, honestly, people are people, and a lot of times people have the same things in common, but they won't know unless they actually, experience it. So I think I'm put in a weird spot sometimes because people don't know it, or they'll know when they see a photo or something like that, and they're like, they'll be taken aback. But like, yeah, I think growing up in a multicultural family, it's definitely a unique experience.
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier you were raised Catholic, am I correct?
Yes.
You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Um, Catholic school. My dad's father, who was the Italian immigrant, was very, Catholic, school, church, all that stuff. So yeah, raised Catholic, um, and yeah, most of my childhood memories are pretty much me on Sundays. My dad forced me crying because I want to wear jeans like all the other kids. He's like, no, you wear the dress. You wear, so yeah, and I went to Catholic school my whole life up until my freshman year in high school. I went to an all girls Catholic school,
Okay.
and I realized the all girls thing wasn't really for me. I felt like there was like a lot of factors as to why, but yeah, I think I preferred like a co-ed environment, and yeah, I just felt like it'd be more comfortable, especially to be in like a more tight-knit community, because that school was pretty big and everything. So I transferred to a Christian school, and that's when I think I finally started walking in my purpose and walking in, more of my identity as like a Christian woman.
Great.
So
So how was the transition from, I mean, from what is this, your freshman year of high school to from an all girl private Catholic school to a Christian school? How is that transitioning? Also, I mean, how are schools, how are schools in LA? I'm not really like
okay.
educated in that.
So okay, well, public schools in LA are, I mean, when you're raised in like the private school community for so long, like when you like, I guess I was kind of in this bubble, because my parents tried their best to like protect me and make sure that I had a really good education. Because I lived in mid city LA, and a street down from where I lived was LA High School. And LA High School is where, I swear, every other week helicopters flying, every other week some sort of shooting, you hear gunshots, you smelling weed everywhere. It's just like, so I that was kind of the community I was in. I
Yeah.
call, I call it the gentrified hood, because it's not terrible like it used to be. It's starting to get renovated. They put in Targets up, but
Yeah.
you still don't go on certain street corners at night, type of thing. So
Got you.
yeah, so when I finally realized, like, oh shoot, like there's a whole public school community in LA, all these kids, like, because that's when I started taking public transportation. I'd be, meet some people on the way. I was like, dang, I'd go up onto certain high schools and girls looking at me like they want to fight. And I'm not used to that type of, I guess, I don't know if you call it the hood mentality. You don't really make eye contact. You keep to yourself. You don't be looking at people you don't need to.
Right.
So I guess that in itself was a shock for me. And on top of that, I would say that I have nothing against, the Catholic school system, or anything, just besides the fact that I feel like they don't instill the spirit, they don't instill any sort of relationship. I give a lot of what I know about the Bible to Catholic school, because it was kind of ingrained in us to go to mass, and read certain epistles and stuff like that.
Right.
But in terms of the relationship, I think it's honestly the biggest disservice to a lot of children slash teens or whatever, because so many of them are graduating not even knowing who God really is, or how much He cares about every detail of their life. Like, it's really sad to see, because a lot of people actually step away from the faith after going to Catholic schools, from
Yeah, a
what I.
lot of them are turned away. So that's one thing was gonna bring up is like, I don't know, this has happened even back in the day. My grandfather was in school. My grandfather was in school. He was in school in like the 40s, and he turned away from the religion completely, whether it's Catholicism or Christianity, for the longest up until his passing. We finally had to. He got a full understanding of what the faith truly was, but he was so turned away after having to go to Catholic school. It took almost his whole life to really go back. So that's a case for a lot of people. I know a lot of friends. My girlfriend went to a Catholic school for a long time. So yeah, like that is definitely a case. I think that might be the main difference though between Christianity and Catholicism. There's so many tiers, it's almost like you got to go through here, through here, through here. Where with Christianity, it's like I have a relationship with God. It's direct. So I definitely understand that. Sometimes the institution and people uh, corrupt everything involved. So yeah. So in high school, or when did you really start? So I know you were saying that you singing was a passion for your grandmother. When did you start singing? When do you really remember singing?
That's a great question. Ever since I was little, I was songwriting. I was writing songs. I actually have this. We did this thing when I was like, I think I was 11 or 12, and I was filming a music video. But my family, like my dad, never. I guess he didn't get me like the best equipment for things. So we had this really raggedy camera that I thought I was gonna upload on YouTube. I thought it was gonna like blow up or something, but yeah, I used my cousin as like my fake boyfriend in the video that he was like cheating on me. I was always writing songs, like I was like hurt love songs, like who hurt me? No one hurt me. I was 12. I was not hurt, but I was over here writing all these love songs. And yeah, so I was doing that. I was dabbling in that a lot as a younger kid. And then through high school, I think the comparison, the competitiveness of like, I don't know if it's the culture or what, like I was just like, I'm not that good of a singer. I'm not even like, it's whatever. I don't think I had the direction I needed. I don't think anyone really like helped me cultivate like, oh, do this. Like, there are resources here. I would try to find studios, but it just never fell through. That's the family I come from. Things don't get done. So it's just like when you're not aware of that, you're just kind of repeating that cycle, saying you're going to get things done, saying you're going to do things, and then you don't.
Right.
So I was kind of in that for a while, like, yeah, I'll make music eventually. I'll do that eventually, not realizing I can get up and buy a mic now. I can get up and do that now. And I didn't. So I started going to a church called Oasis in Koreatown. And that church was a huge part of my life at that time, because every Saturday we would do some sort of volunteering thing, whether it was going to not Skid Row, but like going to places like where there's a lot of homelessness, or helping out with Compton outreaches, things like that. So that was my identity for years. And I was going to a youth group. Then I fell away from that for a minute just because things, I had a falling out with a friend there. But then I went back a few years later, and that's when a new pastor was there. His name was Aaron White, and he is an amazing lyricist, poetry. And so when we would worship, we would all sit around this like cajon, someone have a guitar cajon, and we would just freestyle. Like he'd pull up a freestyle beat and we'd freestyle to God. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, whoa, like we can freestyle with God. Like we don't have to, we should sing worship, but it's cool to worship from just like your heart and stuff like that. He was very big on just like spoken word and things like that. And I think that awakened that side of me. And we had this day where we went into the wilderness, and that's where we were all freestyling, and I kind of took the lead for a minute, and I forgot how much I loved singing. I was like, whoa, like, so that in a way just kind of reawakened the passion for me, and the love. And when I realized I could do it for God, I was like, whoa, like it just kind of blew my mind. And this was at age, I think 17. So.
Okay. So just recently, I mean, not recently, but semi recently, that's amazing. That's amazing. Trying to think what else. Did you have any other hobbies in high school?
Yeah, I'm tall. I'm 5'8". I'm pretty slender. So I was in athletics and stuff, but I'm not really an athletic person. I think I just have the build for it, so people assume it, but I'm not. Like I was not top tier at all. So yeah, I got into volleyball and stuff. But funny story, my coach accidentally elbowed me in the face once, and I got knocked out, fell to the floor. I don't even remember falling. I just remember waking up on the floor with like a pool of blood around me, and he displaced my tooth. So
Wow.
at that point, I was like, I just feel I don't want to keep. I don't want that. This isn't worth my face. This is my face.
No, I got you.
Face, please. So ever since then, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. So I was invested in sports, but yeah, music and community outreach. I'd say my biggest identity at the time, like literally helping people. Like if I could, I was volunteering here, volunteering there. I just loved the people. I loved the community. I loved the people I would work with. It was just powerful.
What type of community work did you do?
Well, we did things called the Compton Outreach, where we go around, distribute food, where we would repaint schools, repaint houses, like lower income schools that really needed the work and
The work.
Um, we would go to Skid Row sometimes, and Skid Row is like it's pretty infamous in LA, just a place where all homeless people are kind of like packed together on these streets, and kind of there's a community in itself there of homelessness. And it's sad because you see prostitutes, you see people addicted, you see families, you see little, especially minorities, a lot of children and stuff, just kind of in that. So yeah, things like that. Or even if it was as simple as cleaning up a street, like we go around the block and sweep up trash and stuff like that. Just things that we could to help the communities all around LA.
Yeah, anything helps, to be quite honest.
Yes.
So growing up in LA, how would you explain the culture in LA? I'm not aware of it.
Oh, okay. The culture in LA is, in my opinion, it's in a secular standpoint, it's dope, and I mean it's still dope from a Christian standpoint, but we'll get to that standpoint after. But secular wise, it's all about what are you doing, what moves are you making, who do you know, type of thing. Places like Melrose and Fairfax, that's where, like, you know you have to have the best drip. If you dripped out, iced out, it's all about the image. It's all about the image. And that's how, when I was in high school for a bit, I wasn't, really following Christ the way I should have. And it's easy to get sucked into it. It's easy to be so vain. It's easy to be so like caught up in, what's plots, where's the next place we're going to. And it does take you somewhere, but it's just, if that's not where God wants you, then it's like, but on the Christian standpoint, when you look at it for what it is, it's just like kind of all these broken people trying to prove themselves to someone, trying to be validated by people, trying to show off what they can do, thinking that what they do is what earns that's where the respect is earned, that's where the love is earned, and things like that, when in reality, we're called to love people no matter like what they can or can't do, no matter financial stature or anything like that. So
Fair, fair, fair. I have a great analogy for this. I mean, I think it plays into when we're talking about the spiritual and secular. Um, I think about Playboy Cardi, and the reason why I say this is because I know for the longest I was a huge Playboy Cardi fan, and I was waiting for this album to drop, and it dropped, right, and it came out and it was flat. I think the devil tricks people into thinking, something big is gonna happen. This is gonna be amazing. You're gonna have this. You're gonna have that, and then it comes out flat. It's nothing that really is gonna hold any substance in your life. And I think that might be what you're explaining when it comes with like broken people trying to find the next thing. What can fulfill my spirit right now? Or my flesh, not even my spirit, what can fulfill my flesh right now? It's like, dude, there's one true God that can help you out with that.
yeah.
um I don't know. I mean, there's people who have millions and millions of dollars, and they're still end up being miserable. So yeah, I mean, that's interesting, very interesting. um so when did you start, like, so 2017 is when you reclaimed your passion for singing. When did you start, like, doing it like professionally? When did you find a studio? What happened? what
So
How do we get to here?
yeah, thank you for asking. That's where my husband comes in, because
Okay.
my husband, we went to the same high school. So in a way, it worked out that I wasn't fond of the all girls Catholic school,
Right.
because I moved to a really weird, literally 40-person high school in Santa Monica. Who would have thought? It's a miracle that I even was allowed to go there, because my dad, I don't know how he was so chill with it, because he's huge on like education. So, but 40-person high school in an alley in Santa Monica. It's called Lighthouse Christian Academy. And yeah, that's where my husband Justin went. And I didn't even know it until I graduated, when we started talking. So at that point, that's when we were going to churches together. He came with me to Oasis. He kind of saw that reawakening in me. Like, he heard me singing, like, oh, I didn't know you could sing like that, yada yada. So I give a lot of it to him as well, like just in encouraging me. So that's where he comes in, because he is now a music engineer. But that was kind of the start of him getting interested into mixing music and editing and getting like mics. So he actually has an older brother who's always been into rapping. So his older brother had a mic, so he let us use it. So I'd go to his house and we'd record songs on this like cheap like $200 mic and this like Scarlett interface, like really cheap things, but you know, it sounded good to us in the moment. And as we kept going and going and going, that's when more of it got awakened, where he was like, okay, I'm gonna invest in this $500 mic and this, and then that's where, yeah, he was kind of the resource for me.
That's amazing. That's really dope. That's really dope. I was just watching a podcast yesterday, and it was talking about how, when we're gonna get to this, we'll probably get to it right after this, because people are gonna be like, "Oh, she's married. She's 19. She's married. What?" But when it comes to finding that right partner, who you want to end up marrying is not a huge thing nowadays in in today's society. You want to find someone. I was in this podcast. It's like you want to find someone that is legitimately going to help your life and help make a world for you. You know what I'm saying? And in both ways, for male and female. You know what I'm saying? Help you in any way. So like my girlfriend, for example, she helps me tremendously in like a lot of different things. Like for me, I don't like design. I like to just be like who I am. I'm like, okay, if you don't take me, and she's like, all right, come on, clean yourself up, try to look presentable, try to do these things. And on the same end, I mean, she's a lacrosse player. So like I'm helping her out on a mental aspect of, hey, look, this is how you perform. I think that is instrumental to have a partnership. And if a lot of people aren't dating nowadays, but if you do find someone who's able to help make your life better and help you in immense ways, like from singing to like an auto engineer, like, you know what I'm saying? That's amazing. So let's speak about that. I mean, that's unheard of nowadays, to be quite honest. Being married at your age, that was more of a thing that probably happened in probably the 50s or 60s, I'd imagine. I'm not coming at you. I'm just yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, to touch on what you just said, I think a lot of couples are in competition with each other. A lot of couples are jealous of each other. Whether it's, a woman, maybe the wife gets some sort of promotion, maybe she starts making more, maybe the man's ego is kind of like, I don't know the term, but it's shaken
Yeah,
because
yeah,
because he's like, oh, I was used to being the breadwinner. Maybe it brings out insecurities, and if he doesn't know how to deal with them, it can be used for bad, or vice versa. Maybe the man is super successful and the woman's like, what am I doing? Maybe I'm just a stay-at-home wife or mother. Like, so that, it is a blessing that I have a husband who is extremely supportive, because I don't come from a family whose marriage was like that. My parents, my dad was actually very, I would say, not to put on blast or anything, but it was not the healthiest. It was not a good partnership. It was not a teamwork, a team effort.
right.
So yeah, it's a blessing. God really redeemed my life in that, because, on the my track record should not have been the way it's going now. So thank God. But yeah, he made me realize he's the reason why I'm pushing myself now. He's the reason why I really challenge myself, because I was used to kind of mediocre living. I was used to kind of a stagnant, I call it like a poverty mindset. Like, it is what it is. If the opportunity comes, and it comes. And he's like, no, you fight for it. You push yourself. You be better. You be great. And because of that, I'd say that's why I even dropped the CP. That's why I even was able to flow the way I did, because he was like, no, do that again, do that again, do that again. And I wasn't used to good work ethic. I was
Yeah.
used to barely passing by. So yeah, I owe it to him huge. And marriage, I don't know, it's weird, because people have this misconception that young marriage, like, people thought we were going to immediately have a kid, I was going to get knocked up or whatever, and I was going to drop out of college.
Right.
And I'm just like, he's the reason why I'm doing better in college. He's the reason why I'm getting up and have motivation to work out now. Like, it's just so crazy, because it's like when you have that right person, and it does not even in a relationship sense, even though that's what we're talking about, but even friendship wise, like when you have the right people around you, it's not a distraction. It's actually an incentive. It's a motivation.
Yeah, it's gonna make you do better, to be quite honest, because you want to do better. You want to be the best person. You want to project to be the best person to that person. Like for some of my teammates, when they get in relationships and when they get with the right girl who has like her head on straight, right, and wants the best for them. One of my pals, one of my teammates, like he's a junior right now. His grade point average was probably like a 1.2 or something like that. He was almost out of campus, like legitimately. One semester after having his girlfriend for a long time, or after like having his girlfriend for one semester, he went up to 4.0. And that was yeah, and that was like legitimately like you're capable of it.
Wow.
That's the thing. You're capable of it. And it takes something to just push you there. And I mean, he had his boys, he had his teammates like, come on, bro, let's get better, let's get better. And he was like, nah, I'm not trying to listen to it. But when he had this girl, changes his whole thing. So I mean, I really want to stress the importance of like trying to find a relationship. A lot of my friends, they don't, that's not their MO. So it is what it is. I'm not, and also am not telling people how to live their lives. Just telling you it can get better if you find the right person. So without a doubt, that's amazing. I would love to have your husband on as well. This would be amazing at some point. Because I want to have another podcast with you guys, especially. I mean, let's keep talking. But so let's talk about how we got to the EP. So how did this EP start out?
Well, so the sad but funny thing is that I had been trying to drop an EP for 2 years, man. Like I was like, I'm gonna drop an EP. It's coming soon. At first, I had an EP idea called The Love Sequence. I was like, it's gonna be called The Love Sequence, and it was actually gonna be a bunch of love songs about Justin because I was like, oh, I love Justin so much. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be that, but it just kept getting dragged on. I wasn't in the right headspace, the mindset to be like to push for it, to really push to like get it done and finish the mixing and finish the like vocals and things like that. It's just one of those things like, oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. So finally in 2020, that's when I like really buckled down and was like, okay, like I've been saying I'm gonna do these things and I'm not. So it's time to do it. And that's where we got married in July and we went on our honeymoon in December. And that's where I think God um I think he just that was like where the blessing started happening just in terms of like helping me because I'd been wanting to grow closer to God at that point because 2020 was like kind of a rough year for me with God. It's like I would try to talk to him and it just seemed like things, I don't know if it was spiritual warfare, just the flesh, like it was just really hard for me to sit down and talk to him. So our honeymoon was kind of like a breath of fresh air because once we moved away from like our normal space and like we're just isolated with God, like I just felt like God really revealed himself and really like opened ourselves up to him more. And in that same way, we brought our mic with us and we just started freestyling. Like we would have fun just making music. And that's where I believe it's the second song on the EP, How They Gonna Stand. That's where that one came. And it's featuring him. So yeah, thank you. Thank
I
you.
like that's my favorite one, honestly. That's my favorite one.
I really thank you. Yeah, like I really flowed on that one and I shocked myself because I was like, I never thought of myself as like a rapper. I still don't know if I should really call myself that. I guess I am. But it's just so weird because I used to say I could never rap, I could never do this. But I used to really resonate with singing. But I realized I really love melodic rap, like Lil Baby type rap. For God, obviously. But like
Yeah.
just kind of like I love that. So that was the awakening of that and that's when I said, you know what, like I'm doing this EP, I need to do it. And because he was kind of waiting on me to do mine so that he could do his, because he was really putting me first in that because he knew how important it was to me. So he was pausing what his goals were so that I could, and like now it's his time to shine because he's dropping his as well. So yeah, it was I'd say it finally started around December. And the the last two songs on my EP are actually kind of old, Spirit Drip Down and Speak My Purpose. Those were older ideas, but I still thought they could make it into this one. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny because my best friend had come over and we were all making a song, but I was kind of in a bad mood. So I was like, all right, I can't record today. I just feel weird. But once my friend left and Justin went to sleep, like he went in his room, I was like, wait, I want to make a song like just by myself. And
Yeah.
that's why I made Authority.
Okay.
And it's funny because I just like you said about earlier about my TikToks with spiritual warfare, I deal with a lot of spiritual warfare. I think most Christians do, maybe knowingly or unknowingly. So I'm very aware of it. And I felt immediately once I got in the booth in our house, like I felt all this fear. I felt kind of like, I don't know what, but I just felt like this fear, like of demonic stuff. And I was like, okay, I need to stop. And I was like, God's given me the authority. So I was recording it literally so scared to even like look out, because I can see in the spirit sometimes when God allows me. So I've seen some things, and they do scare me. Like, it's sad to admit, but they do. So I'm still trying to work through having that authority in Christ. So with that song, that's when I said, I put my back to the face of the enemy, because it's just like, it's just like I can't even focus on you. Like, I just need to focus on God.
And then
So
see, that's one of the one things. I mean, we're gonna go into that next. Like, great transition. When it comes to spiritual warfare, man, that's serious. And a lot of times people they don't give it the weight that is just. Like, there are spirits that don't want to see you succeed and want to see you walk your purpose with God. So yeah, I mean, I'm scared too, and I've seen some craziness too, and I'm like, all right, I'm going home, gonna open up this book real quick, my sword, and I'm about to go pray. I'm about to go chill out. Like, this is nuts. And I think that's where I try to explain it to some of my friends who aren't even saved, and I'm like, they're gonna start looking at me like as some type of kook. But no, without a doubt, I'm glad you were able to just be like, hey, look, this is what God's telling me to do. I'm gonna go do it. I don't care about what this distraction is off to the side. I'm gonna push through it. Um, that takes an amazing, strength and resilience. So good work on that one. The EP is amazing. It's 15 minutes long. You guys can have 15 minutes. So please stream it, listen to it. We're gonna start talking about how did you make this transition onto TikTok. Yeah, how'd you make your transition into TikTok? When did you start?
So it's so embarrassing, because when TikTok first came out, I was low-key a hater. And that's that old mentality. Like, what is this new thing? Like, we don't need TikTok. Like, I think it was like the name of it sounded kind of like weird, like TikTok. Like, I thought it was like a kids app. I was like, all these kids are on it, like all these dances, like what's going on? And now here I am trying to make it big on TikTok. Like, that's what I get, right? But yeah, I just realized, like, I can really use this to market, because I'm not signed to a label. I'm independent. And it's funny, because at first I wasn't even doing it to market myself. I just was like, I want to start. I feel like I have so much to share about my experiences with God. I'll see people like China and McClain, like she's a very openly Christian woman, and she uses her platform amazingly. I was like, okay, I need to start sharing my stories, especially because I'm very adamant, very zealous about issues of the spiritual realm, in terms of people kind of idolizing the dark side of it unknowingly. Like, a lot of, you'll see all these pretty girls on TikTok who call themselves witches, or they get into the crystals, or they get into whatever, the manifestation. And I'm just thinking, like, all these beautiful girls that are so enticing. If I wasn't Christian, I'd be like, oh, she's a pretty girl that's into her spiritual stuff. Like, I'd probably get into it too. So I'm like, in that same way, I want to use my platform to kind of fight against that and show people, okay, that's cool and all, but you don't know what's behind, like, those spirits, your
And
ancestral worship or things like that. Like, you don't know what's behind all that.
yeah, and I honestly, it leads to just pure confusion. And I mean, that's what the devil is there for, is always to confuse you, to keep you off track, to make sure that you're not doing your stuff, right? Like, that you're not walking your purpose, like I said earlier. But yeah, like, my friends, I had to send a testimony that I saw this young man. I'm gonna try to get him on the podcast as well. Um, During quarantine, made a transition from uh he left his Mormon church. He went into New Age, started doing the crystals, astral projection, whatever the crap, and then realized what that truly was. He was possessed. He was possessed twice, and then went on to Christianity. I think that should be one of the things that uh change, not or saves people. When you see how controlling the devil can be, and how people really just gravitate to his things, you know what I'm saying, like New Age, yoga, like all that, right? Like, when you gravitate to that, like, the world is gravitating to that now, and that's like a hip thing. Like, on TikTok, that is a huge thing, and people don't understand the spirituality behind it, probably because maybe they don't necessarily understand it to a full extent. But if I can see that so many people are practicing sorcery, witchcraft, and there's people who are like claiming to be witches and praising Satan, how can you like? It's clearly good and evil. Like it's clearly good and evil. That's the issue that I have. It's like you don't see this. Like you don't see this. I don't know. What do you think on that? I'm sorry for my little ramble.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. It's so sad because I think so many younger kids, especially young girls, look, we all internalize what we see. We all look up to influencers. So it's you need to watch what you see. That's why God says protect what you see. Like you need to really guard your eyes, guard your heart because you don't know what you're taking in. And in that same way, it's like it's so I don't think I've ever seen before people take pride in being a witch. Like I've never seen that as a like how is our culture so we're so twisted where it's like, oh, I'm a witch, and people are like, oh, that's so dope. Like, yeah, you do you. Like, no, like, what are you talking about? Like, I've never seen people be so open about it and it be so praised.
Right.
And even and that's another thing, even in the music industry, I just thought of how, SZA says she uses crystals for to make her artistry. And I'm like, so that just shows what spirits are behind the music we listen to. There's spirits behind almost everything. I'm not trying to over spiritualize things, but there is.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, like Tom Brady, his wife makes him an altar with crystals and whatever before he plays a game. Like that, you know what that is? You know what I'm saying? And people love Tom Brady, but like I love Tom Brady. It's like, dang, dude, really? Like you don't understand, you don't know what this is. And I was like, so I think some people do know what it is, but I think other people just are ignorant to it and they don't fully grasp the true like weight of what you're really doing.
exactly.
And I think that's something that I have like friends and I'm like, look, I try my best and I truly don't like to tell people what to do in their life at all. But hey man, check this out. Tell me what you think. If you could give me, you know what I'm saying? So I sent that, I sent that, and I can send it to you as well. This kid's testimony. It's like, check it out. Tell me what you think and be honest with me. If you don't agree with it, so be it. Like, but let's have some discourse about it.
Yes. I think that's all that takes. Because if people aren't open minded to the possibilities of what it can be, then then it's kind of like, okay, I'm just going in circles.
Right. How have you gotten closer? So you said 2000 or 2020 was a bit rough. You're getting back to God up until your honeymoon.
Hmm.
How have you gotten closer? I've noticed on your TikTok you talked about fasting. Um, let's just talk about things like that.
And just to touch upon what we were just saying, I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest things the devil has done, like as a disservice to our world, is made it seem like Christianity isn't spiritual, to make it seem like, oh, it's just this surface level relationship with no depth, with no growth. And that's why all the other things are so enticing, because it's like, it's there and it's instant. I've seen, when if you've ever heard of manifesting, or if you're before you're saved, if you did it yourself, when you manifest something, it happens quick. Like things can happen quick because that's how the devil works. It comes easy, but at what cost? So that's how I see it. Anyways, I'd say after the honeymoon in 2021, we kind of set our goals like, okay, we are for sure every day spending an hour with God, no excuses, like an hour with God. We live in Inglewood now, so we go to this park nearby. And something about being in nature with God, I don't know what it is. It's like you're away from the noise, away from so many people, I guess. But just sit in nature with God. I bring my journal and I just write to God, and I try to fast weekly. Lately I haven't, for the past 2 weeks I haven't, but I try to do it once just a day out of 7 days, just to keep myself, I call, like, I guess, regulated, just to
Yeah.
keep myself in the spirit, because it's hard. We have so many secular friends, people, we're kind of like the spot, like friends come in and out of the house, and we love people. We love inviting people over, we love sharing, everything. We just love company. But I think, sometimes that can get distracting and people are bringing things, so I just try to make sure I stay in the spirit. I try to stay away from my emotions when I can, and making decisions, and fasting is the best way. And praying in the spirit. I never really valued praying in the spirit as much as I do now. I try to pray in the spirit throughout my day. If I'm driving, if I'm quiet, like I'll just be praying in the spirit, just to, have that direct communication with God, and pray protection over my husband at all times, over me. So I'd say that we finally just buckled down, said we're devoting our time to him, daily dates, no questions asked, period. um, worship every day, and fasting once a week. That was more of what I was called to do. I don't think he fasts once a week, but I try to fast once a week. He does his own thing, whether it's like 3 days in a row or something like that. So yeah, we have different. We stick to the same routine and we go our separate ways, and then we reconnect back together with God together. So yeah, we have a cool little routine. But the thing I kind of worry about is because we have a lot of time on our hands right now. So I'm like, once quarantine is over and stuff, I hope we can still cultivate that routine in our
Right.
everyday life, because we might not have an hour every day, like in the future as life goes on. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, prior to quarantine, I mean, I was just getting back with God. Like I was always a Christian. I grew up as a Christian, but my cousin passed away pretty like abruptly. She was only 27. She had kids, and these are like my little cousins. I babysit them all the time. So like I was really in a like a low point. And this is prior to quarantine really started. So it's like November 2019. Going in, it's my last semester. I just started taking like time. I take 15, 30 minutes, even while I'm studying, to listen to a sermon, listen to a Bible study, just be with myself or be by myself with God, pray with my girlfriend. And then during quarantine, I came back home from Florida to Ohio. Just my prayer life just shot up. Like I would just pray every day. And sometimes I would go off and it would be an hour long prayer. But I think that is super important. And hey, once quarantine is over, I'm starting to realize, okay, this is how I'm going to fit that in, right? Because I definitely think it is truly important. What's the importance of having your time with God and then having time with God with your husband? Because I think that's going to be instrumental for successful marriage, especially if you practice Christianity.
yeah, I'd say time alone is so important because at first we caught ourselves only spending time with God together, and I feel like that creates kind of a dependency on one another with God.
Right.
Like if Justin doesn't talk to God, then I don't because we forget. But it's like if I'm responsible for myself and I detach the two, I know that it's between me and God. And I think it's just so important because there are times, I'm not the perfect wife. So, if I say something disrespectfully and I sit alone with God and I hear that like that little voice in my head that's like, you shouldn't have spoken to him like that. Like, why did you say that? Or, why did you give him that look? Or,
Right.
you need to go apologize now. It's like God can't really check you when you guys are together. You know what I'm saying? But when you're alone with God, that's when he can really check you. And that's when you give him the space to. And together, it's just important because I mean, I don't know, it's just like it's a beautiful spiritual bond. Like this is a covenant, And the covenant gets strengthened in a variety of ways, but especially during prayer. Because when we're praying together, it's just like, I don't know, we're coming before God together in agreement. So it's like threefold. So I think it's beautiful when we pray together. I know not a lot of couples do. A lot of couples might be you know people are at totally different walks throughout with God, but luckily Justin and I have been, we're definitely equally yoked in comfortability with God together and things like that. So it's never a weird moment with that.
That's amazing. Side note, I'm also the same way. I like to have an open door policy. I love having people around, and they definitely can be distracted, and they might drag in whatever they got going on into what's going on. So, I mean, yeah, without a doubt, I truly understand that. Uh, how is it? How has your outreach? Have you seen the impacts of your outreach on TikTok yet?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. People have. I was shocked. I think wait, what was one of my videos was about my story just of what happened with well, I guess I'll tell whoever's listening and you. I was offered a development deal with Capitol Records in 2019, I believe, and I said no because God told me to say no. He said, "Do you choose me or fame?" I said, "I choose you." And immediately I said on TikTok, all hell broke loose in my life. Um, I was driving home. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was a demonic hand trying to scare me. The side of my house got set on fire randomly by some random homeless person who just, I guess, set up camp next to my house, and it never happened before. The firefighters had to come.
Wow.
Um, my best friend at the time, was getting extremely demonic dreams of. She wasn't saved at that time, and she was still figuring. She goes to MIT. She was figuring God out for herself, and she was literally hearing demons at night, like talking to her, taunting her, and she started praying the Our Father. We both went to Catholic schools, so she knew the Our Father, and they were saying it in reverse, like as it
Mm.
meant nothing, like your prayers mean nothing. And that's when she realized, I'm so weak, like I can't even protect myself, because she had a lot of sleep paralysis. And I think that's what turned her to God. So God used it for good, but in that moment, I couldn't even tell her about what was happening with the demonic stuff happening around me, because she was going through her
Her
own.
own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had gone to the studio I was going to at the time. It was a guy I'd been working with for all those months I was there. And the second I went back after saying no, I realized he was possessed. I came in, and he was looking at me funny, and he was moving weird, and I started praying, or I started singing worship out loud, and he ended up leaving. But really weird. It was as if God opened my eyes to all the things that were kind of trying to push me to go in this direction. Um, but then, God always matches, you know what I'm saying? So if the devil comes here, God is like, like he's above and beyond. So that same week I heard God tell me to go in nature and talk to him. And that's when I felt the joy of the Lord. I was laughing for like 2 hours straight, not knowing why, but it was just the joy of the Lord. That was in the Holy Spirit. I believe that was when I truly walked in my purpose, when I denied what the world had to offer.
That's amazing. I know in that story, right? So one of your friends who wasn't saved at the time had a dream about a girl selling her soul or something like that. Is that
Yes, yeah. So he actually goes to my Christian university. I go to APU, but he doesn't walk in Christianity like that or anything. But
right?
yeah, he had also gotten the dream, and that was the confirmation for me that it was a no. But that story has reached so many people, and a lot of people saying similar things, like what you had said about things that were offered to them, or people reaching out to me on DMs asking for prayer, or I had a little spiritual, like a Christian spiritual series thing going on. So people asking me like, oh, do you fast, or why is it important to fast, or praying in the spirit, things like that. So it's been amazing to see that, even if I can help one person, one Christian, like it means the world to me. I've met a lot of people through TikTok already, and a lot of people have helped me as well. So yeah, it's been
Well,
amazing.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I guess we'll wrap it up. But what are some goals that you have? And what about your husband's EP? When can we expect that? I mean, I'm not trying to.
So it's called, his artist name is JB the Preacher, THA. He follow him on Instagram, and he actually did drop it already. He's just
Oh
still
yeah.
out. Yeah, so you can check it on Spotify. Just search JB the Preacher, and his EP is called, or it's actually an album. It's called Preach It JB Volume One.
Let's go. All right.
Yeah, that's dope. We actually are starting. Our goal is in. I heard God say in November to drop a group thing between me and him. I believe God wants us to start not a label, but like some sort of just a collaborative group thing. So yeah, we'll be doing that. We'll be dabbling into that. We've been making a lot of music together, as we are trying to start our group. And in the meantime, I think I'm just trying to gain momentum. The goal right now, I reached 4K streams with no paid promotion, so I'm grateful to God for that. It's been all through TikTok and Instagram, and my mom, I call her my marketing agent. She's sharing with everybody and anybody. So
Right.
yeah. So yeah, I'd say for now I'll just be dropping singles or like mini EPs like every month or so,
Okay.
making music videos and just kind of building up that momentum. And wherever God takes it, He'll take it. That's the goal.
But that's dope. That's dope. Well, Trina, I really appreciated this conversation. Should be up pretty soon. Give me some time. But no, I really appreciate it. God bless the work. That's what I say. GBTW. God bless the work. Keep it up. Keep doing you.
Yeah.
And hey, I appreciate it. I will say this. Your music reminds me of, and the reason why I started off our conversation originally, I was like, being a Christian nowadays is kind of like punk rock, not really punk rock, but like grunge. Like it reminded me of like Nirvana with I don't know this one of the new artists like Cole Leroy, whatever her name is, with like it was like a super like it was a combination of like rock and rap and like because of the guitar and it was like It's amazing music. I really did enjoy it. So I'm definitely gonna check out your husband's album. It's volume 1, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. I appreciate it. If you got anything else, you can plug whatever you want. I mean, this is free marketing for the most part.
Yeah, well, follow me at Petrina Delacey. I'm on Spotify. That's all I got right now. And TikTok if you want to check me out. Thank you. And it's such a pleasure talking to you. It was an honor to even be on this. Like this was so God ordained for sure. So I really appreciate it.
Without a doubt. Well, have a good one.